In recent days, Europe has been shaken by a dramatic escalation in tensions between Russia and NATO. On the night of September 9th into the 10th, several Russian drones launched during strikes on Ukraine crossed into Polish airspace. Poland, a NATO member state, scrambled fighter jets alongside its allies and managed to shoot down some of these drones. But the incident sent shockwaves throughout Warsaw and Brussels because it represented a direct violation of the NATO treaty. In response, Poland has formally invoked Article 4 of the NATO treaty, a rarely used clause that triggers urgent consultation amongst the alliance members whenever a member feels its security is under threat. So what exactly does this mean? How does Article 4 differ from NATO's more famous Article 5, and what happens next for Europe's security? Article 4 is essentially NATO's early warning and discussion mechanism. It states that whenever a member state believes its territorial integrity, political independence, or security is under threat, it can call for consultation with other allies. This does not automatically mean military retaliation. Instead, it creates a formal space for members to gather, share intelligence, and access risk and decide on coordinated response. Article 4 has been used sparingly in NATO's history. For example, Turkey invoked it multiple times during crisis on its border with Syria. By contrast, Article 5, the clause that people think of first when they hear of NATO, commits the alliance for collective defense. If one member is attacked, all members treat it as an attack against them. Article 5 has only been triggered once after the 9/11 attacks in the United States. Article 4, therefore, is a step short of that. It is a signal of alarm but not of declaration of war. Article 4 of the NATO has only been invoked rarely in the alliance's 75 years history, highlighting its gravity. Turkey has only relied on it most frequently. In 2003, ahead of the Iraq War, it sought protection against possible spillover, prompting NATO to deploy Patriot missile batteries and surveillance support. In 2012, after Syrian shelling killed civilians inside its territory, Ankara again triggered Article 4, leading to the strengthened air defense along its border. The 2014 crisis in Ukraine saw Poland, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania call for consultations after Russia annexed Crimea, pressing the alliance to reinforce its eastern flank. More recently, in 2020, Turkey requested talks following the death of dozens of its soldiers in Idlib, Syria. Together, these instances underscore that Article 4 is reserved for moments of acute regional insecurity where members seek collective reassurance and precautionary action. It signals that a member believes events on its border could destabilize NATO's security as a whole. Poland's move now follows in the tradition, underlining both the seriousness of Russian drones and the symbolic power invoking the clause. For Poland, the drone incursions were more than just an accident. Roughly 20 Russian drones crossed into the airspace during one night. Some were shot down, others were unarmed decoys, but the scale of intrusion was unprecedented. Warsaw called this an act of aggression and said that it cannot be ignored. After all, if Russian drones can freely enter Polish skies, the integrity of NATO's eastern flank comes into question. Poland leaders argued that this wasn't just about its own sovereignty, it was about the credibility of NATO itself. By invoking Article 4, Poland is making sure its concerns are not dismissed as routine border issues. Instead, the entire alliance is now compelled to treat the entire incident as a collective problem. Following Poland's request, NATO allies convened emergency talks. Already, we are seeing concrete steps being taken. NATO has launched Operation Easter Sentry, a defensive initiative designed to strengthen its eastern defense against aerial threats. This means more surveillance, additional air systems, and a heightened state of readiness along NATO's borders with Russia and Belarus. Poland has also agreed to host more allied troops and defense systems on its soil, reinforcing its role as a frontline state in the alliance. These moves signal that NATO is treating the drone incursions very seriously. even while stopping short of invoking Article 5. Invoking Article 4 has a powerful symbolic effect. It brings the alliance together at a time when unity is essential. The message to Russia is clear. Even action short of a direct attack will be met with coordinated attention and preparation. At the same time, the consultations under Article 4 allow NATO to recalibrate its response carefully. Allies can debate whether this is a deliberate provocation by Moscow, a test of NATO's defenses, or simply a reckless byproduct of the war in Ukraine spilling over. The flexibility is important because it keeps doors open for both deterrence and diplomacy. So, what should we expect? First, NATO will likely increase military assets in Poland and other eastern states. This means more fighter jets patrolling the skies, more defense system on the ground, and tighter coordination with Ukraine to track and intercept drones before they could cross NATO borders. Second, we can expect a stronger diplomatic push. By invoking Article 4, Poland ensures that the issue isn't just treated as a bilateral spat with Russia. It becomes a NATO-wide concern. This increases pressure on Moscow while also reassuring Eastern European allies that they are not alone. Third, the alliance will keep the option of escalation on the table. If drone incursions continue, or if one were to cause casualties or major damage inside Poland, the conversation could shift from Article 4 consultations to Article 5 collective defense. That would be a turning point, with at its heart, this moment underscores the fragile balance in Europe today. Russia's war in Ukraine has already redrawn the security map, and incidents like the drone incursion show that how easily NATO could be pulled closer to confrontation. For Poland, invoking Article 4 is both a defensive move and a political one. It demonstrates vigilance, asserts sovereignty, and reminds Moscow that NATO is watching closely. For NATO, it is a test of solidarity. Can alliance act decisively without escalating uncontrollably? The coming weeks will be critical. What began with drones in Polish skies could shape the trajectory of European security for years to come. So, was this just one-off violations or beginning of a more dangerous pattern? And how far will NATO go to defend its members without sliding into a direct conflict with Russia? That is all from me today. This is Nidhi, and you're watching the Asian Chronicle.